Hi there. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you so much for listening in to the Sejong Cultural Society YouTube account. I want to introduce you to Amy Sahly. She is an English teacher for the 11th and 12th grade over in Luverne, Minnesota. That is the southwestern region of Minnesota. And as well, we have Pierce Cunningham, one of her students in Luverne. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Amy, why don't we get you started and acclimated to our followers? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got immersed in Shijo and how you would describe it to others who are unfamiliar with it.
Sure. My name is Amy Sahly, and I have been teaching in Luverne for 22 years. And I teach all the 11th and 12th grade English classes. So most of them are sort of like American literature or British literature that are kind of based more in one, specific area. But then my AP literature class, I am able to do sort of a wider variety of things. And one thing that I do is every Wednesday, we spend just part of the hour working on different kinds of poetry. And so maybe one week we read sonnets and one week we work on sestinas. And Shijos were something that I came across, I don't even remember how many years ago, but I just got an email from the Cultural Society about this is a poetry contest that you might be interested in. So I just did a little research about how to write them and started helping my kids work on them and entering the contests, and it grew from there.
Well, that's awesome. How would you, or how do you describe it to your students when you introduce Shijo in your class?
I usually sort of start with kind of, they're familiar with haikus from when they are young. So I start with the same kind of, there's 3 lines and you sort of have to think about the syllables. But then I like this because there's like, at least as I understand it, there's sort of the recommended structure, but then it's got some fluidity to it, and the students are able to be a little more flexible and interpret it how they want and get a little more of their expression in there. So it's not as rigid as when we read sonnets or something like that, but it's got some guidelines for them to go off of.
And Pierce, what did you think when you first heard about Shijo? What was your reaction?
Well, at first I was like just interested about learning a new type of poem, and then as I got into it, I liked it more and more because there's not like you don't have to worry about which syllables are stressed and unstressed as much as most other poems, and you have that flexibility to kind of just write what you want to as long as you fit in that range of syllables rather than I have to have these words rhyme, these ones can't rhyme, so on.
And can you read us your Shijo?
Yeah, I can. Decrepit man, full of sorrow, the touch of loss, tears on his face, walks around deep in his head, thoughts of the boy who's gone. Knock, 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 yelling at the door. The boy is back from school.
Very nice. And what inspired this topic and this Shijo?
So what inspired this is actually my parents. Whenever I go places, I'll tell them where I go about how long I'll be there. But no matter how many times I do that, I always get texts like, "Oh, how's it doing? Like, when are you going to be back?" So they're always kind of like worried about me. So I took that aspect of like this man, whether he's like a father or a grandpa, worrying about like this kid he's taking care of. And even though maybe this kid told him where he's off to or what he's doing, he's still worried about him and like thinks maybe he lost him. But then at the end, it's like the boy came back like he said he would, and everything's happy.
That's fantastic. And I do want to mention that this Shijo that you wrote was actually you were a runner-up of the 2021 Sejong International Sijo Competition. So congratulations. That's awesome to be recognized. And Amy, to bring you back into the conversation, Pierce did an awesome job with this. What was the reaction, or what has been the reaction from your students?
They've all reacted very positively. I think my students don't always have a lot of chance throughout their academic day to express themselves more creatively. And so I think they liked this chance to be able to do it. And like Pierce said, to not have to think, well, okay, this poem has 19 lines or whatever, and how can I make them all fit? So they like the idea that you can take sort of just a moment and, capture it in a poem.
And why don't you think more schools are adding Shijo to their courses? And what would it take?
Yeah, I
get
think maybe a lot of schools just don't know about it. You know,
Mhm.
I never had heard of them until I got the email one day from the Cultural Society. So I think maybe it's just kind of a matter of exposure and helping more people be aware of them.
And final comments from both of you, Pierce and Amy, what would you say to someone who's never written a Shijo or might be an educator watching today who may want to introduce this into their curriculum?
I think I would just I would say to try it. You know, it's there's no commitment, you know, if you just to try it and see how it goes. And I think your website has a lot of useful resources for teachers who want to try teaching it and for students who just, you know, want to give it a shot. So I think I'd tell them to just jump in and see how it goes.
Give it a shot, right?
Yeah.
And Pierce, how about you?
Yeah, I'd say just go ahead and try it because it's a fairly easy format to learn and go about. And well, as well as like the thing it encourages like a little plot twist or something thrown in there, which is fun, and like not a lot of poems really encourage you to throw that in there. So I think everybody should enjoy writing one.
Well, thank you so much for both of your time. And Pierce, I hope you continue to write more Shijos and tell your friends and your classmates, even as you go off to college, to try it out, to learn about it. And Amy, I know you will continue to introduce your students in the future. So thank you so much to both of you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.